I mean, this crisis has been the deepest crisis that anyone can remember in the last 100 years, and of course, the worst since we are in democracy. We are a young democracy with a short memory of democracy still.
Yeah, what does that mean? How old is your democracy?
It's only 35 years old.
35. All right, Jung Naiv. It's Saturday, beautiful Saturday, and we're still in Madrid. And who are you?
I'm an MP for the Socialist Party. My name is Juan Moscoso.
Are you guys in government right now?
No.
No?
We lost the election very, very badly in 2011. Now we are the main party in the opposition.
Why did you lose the elections?
Because the crisis arrived, we were in government, we took complicated decisions, we had troubles explaining to people why we did them, and we were defeated very badly with a very clear result by the Popular Party.
So, but were you responsible for the crisis? I heard there was like a boom period in the 2000s. Were you in power there?
No, that's a very good question. What happened in Spain is that we lived almost 15 years of growth, which was not sustainable. We were building more homes, for example, that France, Italy, and Germany together during many, many, many years, and nobody said anything. Everybody thought that was the way to grow and to become a rich country, as we always wished. And these growth years began in 1983, so still with González. In 1986, Aznar came with the Popular Party. Aznar was in government for 8 years, 96 until 2004.
Oh, and then he lost the election because of the Iraq War or something?
For example, and because he was very arrogant and people didn't like him. And then we won in 2004, and the crisis came in 2008. So I think in those years, we didn't change enough the economy. The economy was already very warm up, very growing over its capacity. We had a bubble, and then when the crisis arrived, I don't think we did things good enough.
What did you guys do wrong?
Well, basically, we suddenly changed our policy, and the dream of Spain being the country of success and wealth fall down in few months. We cut public spending, we cut public pensions, we cut the wages of public servants.
But you're a left party, right?
Yeah, but that was what we were supposed to do, because that was what...
Supposed to do, but who says that?
Because there was this overwhelming majority in Europe, in the European Union, in the European Council, led by Ms. Merkel and Mr. Sarkozy in those days, that they told us, the conservatives, and they told us that you either do this or the markets are going to take over the Spanish debt and the euro is going to be destroyed and you're going to have to leave the euro. And I think...
So they made you afraid or something? Or,
There was a frightening moment. And it's true that we had to cut expenditure. It's true that we needed to balance our budget. But the problem is that until the crisis came, Spain was the country that had better budget, less deficit, we're growing more, and nobody ever said that we had a problem.
I heard like before the crisis you had less debt than Germany, like on percentage.
We had less debt, we had surplus in the public accounts. We didn't have almost any unemployment. We were growing very fast. We were bringing people from abroad, immigrants, to work in Spain. And everything changed very quickly. And I think we didn't adapt our speech and our policies to the change. The crisis came from everywhere. And I think Europe made a big mistake with the policies that we are following. But I think there's an alternative. But that is another story, and we'll have to win again to prove it.
The policies were like... Were the policies like austerity you were talking about?
Yeah. I think the austerity has been a big mistake. From the left perspective, I think we need to fund public spending and social spending with taxes. Deficit is not a way to be a progressive politician, because if you finance your social policies with deficit, you destroy them. You need to pay taxes, and you need to be serious with that. But the thing is that, for example, in the US, Obama has proved that with a different mix of austerity and growth, you can do things better. Because now there is no hope for Spanish people. There is no hope.
There's no hope.
There's no hope. We have 56% of young people unemployed. 56.
In Germany, 5% or 6%.
We have, not millions, but hundreds of thousands going abroad to work. And this government has already said, the Popular Party, that in the year 2015, so when they leave the government, I mean 4 years after the elections, there will be more people unemployed and less people working than when they won the elections. So it's not true that the right, the conservatives, following Ms. Merkel's instructions, are creating employment or changing things. I mean, it's going to be very hard, and they're creating a society with big differences, with very few who have many things, are very rich, and a very big piece of the society with very low wages, instability, inequality, at the time that education and public health are also losing their qualities.
But I mean, on the other hand, Merkel and the markets always say the countries need to be competitive. You know, they need to be. There needs to be competition, and there needs to be like new laws, so you guys can be competitive.
I think so, but we need to be competitive, but not decreasing wages. I mean, we are never going to beat the Indians or countries in Northern Africa by lowering wages. I mean, that's not the way we want to be competitive. I mean, in Germany, you are very competitive, but
we lowered wages.
Yeah, but you still have much higher wages than in Spain.
Right.
I mean, in Spain, we have people making 400 euros a month.
400.
Yeah, 400
for a full-time job.
For a full-time job. I mean, that's the minimum wage. Well, the minimum wage is a bit more. It's 550. But still, for a full-time, for 40 hours a week. I mean, we don't want to be competitive in that way. Yeah. We want to have better capital, human capital, better companies, better industries, and we are also very good competing in industry and in quality. You have, for example, in my city, in Pamplona, in my constituency, where I am an MP, we have the Volkswagen factory. And the Volkswagen factory in Pamplona that makes the polos for all the world. I mean, if you see polo, that's from Pamplona, like me. They are in a very competitive factory. So we can do things very good, but that requires investment, requires education, requires social cohesion. And what the right is doing is going in the opposite direction.
Cut education.
Cut education, cut innovation, cut investment in science, cut health, make old people and poor people have to pay medicines or pay treatments. I mean, give a little quantity, even if it's public service, and also rise a lot, for example, the price of public education in university. So many people cannot go down to university because their parents don't have the money or because they're unemployed.
Why didn't the Spanish government ask the very rich people? They have the widest shoulders to cover most of the burden. Like, I mean, I learned in school there was Keynes, and and I learned when there's a boom period, the state can make like austerity in a way that we have to lower the deficit, but when there's a recession, you have to invest and get the economy started.
Anti-cyclical.
Yeah, and austerity, like now you did it in a recession.
We are not doing it enough. You have to also know, for example, that Spain, even now, even we have a very important deficit, we are not the country, I mean, we are below European Union average in public spending. We are below. We only spend about 44% of our GDP. The problem is that we only rise with taxes 37% of our of GDP. Mm-hmm. So we have a problem of revenue. Our taxes don't collect very much money because we have very rich people and very important places of wealth where we don't get taxes, and also a very strong tax fraud and tax flight to other countries.
We have the problem too.
Yeah, like with Luxembourg, where Mr. Juncker used to be the prime minister.
You don't like the idea of him becoming president of the EU Commission?
No, not at all. And we are fighting for another German, for Martin Schulz. So that's quite a thing.
But I mean, the German Social Democrats, they supported every austerity measure.
Well, but
in the Bundestag.
But as I said, taking Obama's example, of course you need to have balanced budgets, but you need to first make the rich pay more. In Spain, they are not paying. Oh. You need to have a fair tax system that taxes where there is wealth, and of course you need to invest in a different way of what the right is doing. We want to have a society which is equalitarian, not with differences, where everybody has an opportunity. Right. And with this way of getting off the crisis that the right in Europe and Spain is putting forward, we are creating a two-world society, a very divided society. So you have to do it different. I mean, Obama is incredible. Now we consider an American politician like the more leftist you can be. And it's a paradox. But he's doing things differently with the exchange rate, with the way they put down interest rates, so there will be money helping the banks and giving credit to the families and the companies. I mean, in this country, the companies are not getting any credit at all. The families are not getting any credit. And of course, it has to be good credit, because one of the problems in Spain is the huge volume of private debt in the families, because all this construction bubble took many people to buy homes that were more and more expensive, and now they have to pay for them, and they have to pay prices of homes that maybe they're less valuable now.
Like I heard, you saved the banks, the Spanish banks, but now the Spanish banks are kicking out people out of their homes. Why is that? Why can't you say, like, okay, well, we saved you, and you can't kick out the
we save people. I mean, there's also another thing which is important to know. The Spanish private banks, like Santander, BBVA, they didn't have any problem, but the Germans did. So the Spanish private banks didn't get money. Our problem was concentrated in the saving banks, the Sparkasse in Germany. And there we put a lot of money, but still we put less money than what Germany put in their own Sparkasse. And those banks are the ones that are created a big hole, and they needed public funds.
So you said, like, now the Popular Party, the Conservatives, they got into power, and like in 2015, when the next election is, there will be more unemployment and more public debt and all that.
Yeah, and less people working.
I mean, it sounds like you're gonna be back in power next year. I mean, are you having a large majority in the polls?
No.
Why?
No. In the polls, we are beginning to grow up, beginning to increase our percentages. We are 3-4 points above where we lost 3 years ago, so that's good, but it's still not enough.
Why are the Spanish people not flooding your gates? I mean, don't they see that maybe the Conservatives and the policies are not working out?
For many reasons, because we lost very badly. I mean, this crisis has been the deepest crisis that anyone can remember in the last 100 years, and of course the worst since we are in democracy. We are a young democracy with a short memory of democracy still.
Yeah, what does that mean? How old is your democracy?
It's only 35 years old. 37 years old.
What was before that?
We had this Franco guy who was very conservative.
A dictator,
yeah.
Really?
Right.
Wow. So,
dictator, which was the last survivor of the fascists that you know very well in Germany. Yeah. Destroyed Europe during the Second World War and a bit before.
And he only was gone 35 years ago.
He died in 1975. I remember very well. So still people like my age, my generation, we live with him and we remember his policies very well.
Wow.
The thing is that I have to remember. And you said, why aren't we going ahead in the polls? We're doing better. It's true that the Popular Party is doing much worse. Now we have an important election, the European election, where we are going all together with the SPD and all the Social Democrats in Europe, and we want to have Martin Schulz as president of the Commission. And if we do a good result in the European elections, I think next year we have a chance of winning if we do things right, but we still have to do a lot of work.
So, I mean, we talked about what Spain can do to get out of the crisis. What could the European Union do? What can Brussels do?
Well, Brussels has to realize that countries like Spain that are in the euro no longer run their own economy. So it doesn't matter really who we put in the Spanish government anymore for economy. It matters for many other things. For example, these crazy Popular Party people are now going to ban abortion. I mean, that's the thing that you decide at the national level. But
seriously?
Seriously.
They're turning back the clock.
They're turning back the clock to this Franco guy, when Franco and the Catholic Church ran this country. We're going to discuss this later. But economic policy is run in Europe, in Brussels, and that is good.
Yeah.
I mean, we are very pro-Europeans, but that means that we need to have a real government in Europe that is controlled through democratic means. So we want a European Parliament with a progressive majority, with a socialist majority that can really counterbalance the governments, counterbalance what Merkel is imposing, and we need a different economic policy that, of course, maintains objectives which are reasonable, not these ones, of closing the deficit, but at the same time that gives hope to the people, that can guarantee growth, employment creation, innovation, and that will be competitive in the future in the good sense. I mean, not competitive throwing our salaries to the bottom to be cheaper than the Indians or or other countries in the world like that.
Right.
We don't want to be like that. We want to be a normal European country with good companies, with good enterprises, where people works a lot, as always. As for example, the Volkswagen factory in my city, I put as an example in Pamplona, and with a society without more differences, with more equality. And now we're going in the other direction. We're creating an inequality society that will have very bad problems in the future if we don't solve it.
You said there needs to be a strong European government. Why are the European people, are not? Why can't they vote for the government? I mean, we only vote for the parliament, but in the end, the EU Commission will be decided on the European Council level.
We need to change that. We need to change that. That's the way we build Europe, because we thought it was not necessary, because we didn't think we were going to have such a bad crisis. But for example, think of the Portuguese. I mean, they are right here. I mean, not far from here. We have good friends there.
Neighbors.
They have a socialist government. Socialist government, it happened a bit like in Spain. They took all these hard measures, and then they lost the election. Then they voted for the conservatives. They said, we won't do this, we'll do the opposite. Which I always say these things. Then what happened? They did the same thing, or still even worse.
Sounds like Germany.
So the people that vote said, well, I mean, why do we vote?
Right.
I mean, where's democracy? If we choose these guys, we put them down, then we choose an alternative. They do the same. I mean, in Greece, it's happened already these cycles have gone 3 times already. So we are destroying democracy. And these measures that are taken don't have any kind of credibility or legitimacy. And then people become angry and they begin to vote for Europhobic countries, parties, or ultranationalists, fascists, or crazy guys, like in Italy, the Grillo. So we need people to, I mean, what we need to do is that if we're going to do these policies in Europe, people have to vote for them. Right. And if we want to do others, we need to vote for them. Otherwise, if we don't make Europe more democratic, we will not be able to maintain it, because now decisions are taken in Europe, not anymore in the countries, at least in the economic and social field.
But I mean, we were talking about Martin Schulz. In the end, Merkel could veto him. Like, I mean, even if the Social Democrats or the left gets a majority in the European Parliament in the new elections, in the end?
No, because the proposal has to be voted in the European Parliament.
Right, but I mean, in Germany or probably in any other parliament in Europe, the parliament votes for the head of the government. But that's not.
No, but with the Treaty of Lisbon, the new president of the Commission has to have a vote also in the European Parliament.
It has to be confirmed, but the power is with the European Council.
But we cannot confirm him or her if we don't have him, if he doesn't have a majority. So there might be a crisis, like everything might get blocked, and that would be good.
Or maybe there'll be a grand coalition between the Social Democrats and the Conservatives.
Well, in order to avoid the grand coalition in Europe, we need a large majority of Social Democrats, probably with other left groups and the Greens in the Parliament.
So we talked about what Madrid can do, what Brussels can do. What can maybe Berlin do? What can we take away or go back home? What can we tell Merkel and Mr. Schäuble and Mr. Gabriel?
Well, I think in Europe we need to have not only a different way of seeing between the right and the left. It has to be clear. That at the same time, the North has to understand better what happened with the South. And many of the problems in the South, some of them are the South's fault. I'm not saying in this part of Europe we didn't make mistakes, which we did, and it's important to solve them. But then at the same time, other problems were not our fault. For example, the way the euro was created, and the way the euro has been run, and the way the European Central Bank behaves, is not the South's fault.
Everybody's fault.
Everybody's fault. When all the German money from the German investment funds was coming to Spain to invest in real estate and houses, nobody was worried in Germany, and everybody was very happy in Germany with all the good money. And here we were just doing what we thought was good for everyone, just to create employment and growth. So I think we need to have a way to get out of the crisis, which is European. Right. And I mean, we need to have a bit more of solidarity between the North and the South. We don't want our debts to be forgiven. We don't want not to pay our debts. I mean, that's just demagogy that the right is saying. We just want to have a solution which is fair and that we can feel good being Europeans with solidarity, because it's not only our fault. And I think this crisis was created by everyone.
Like we talked to Per Steinbrück a while back, and he even said, yeah, we're the Germans and German banks and German business is partly responsible for the crisis in Spain. So
Exactly.
There should be also the Germans should help solve the crisis, and not only blame the Spanish for this. For this.
And a very important part of our debt, especially of the private debt, is linked with all the Mercedes and BMWs and Audis and everybody runs in this country. I mean, we are in the single market. Germany has, I think it's a 7% surplus in this balance of payments in GDP, but it's basically in the Eurozone. Mm-hmm. And also, a very important part of German wealth and prosperity is linked with all the markets that the German companies have in Spain, in Portugal, in France, in Italy, and that's very good for everyone. I mean, I'm not criticizing. So, I mean, if we are together for the good, we need to also be together for the bad, so because it's not also our fault.
So it means like the Southern Europeans, they bought a lot of German products, but maybe now Germans need to buy some Southern European products.
Yeah. They need to buy a bit more from the South. They need to be a bit more flexible with solidarity, come here more, spend more money here, so we create employment here, and people begin to feel a bit better about the future, because now there is no hope, and we want to collect more taxes to pay our debts back, to close the deficit, and to grow. And I read the other day an article. I think Germany in the last 5 or 6 years has accumulated a differential of growth with with Spain, France, and Italy of almost 15 points. So in the last 8 years, Spain lost 8 points of our income, and Germany has grown 6 or 7. So that now there's a 15 increase again, and it's the same with Italy, with France, with Portugal. So, and we need to be together. There is no solution outside of Europe, and Germany cannot maintain its super society and way of life without the rest of the Europeans. So we are together in this, but we need to do it in a more leftist way.
And we have a very young audience, and you mentioned that the youth unemployment is very, very high.
Very high.
50%, 60%.
Yeah, almost 60%, yeah.
How can that be solved?
Well, I mean, it's true that in order to create employment, we need to have more growth. In order to have more growth.
But isn't that the neoliberal agenda? Like, that doesn't sound left. Neoliberal, like growth.
No, I mean, it's impossible to create employment without growth. But you can help creating employment with public policies, which are progressive, which are not neoliberal, which, for example, putting forward the youth guarantee. The youth guarantee.
What is that?
The youth guarantee is a proposal that says that every young that finishes university or his or her studies in a period of 4 months, will be guaranteed. That's why it's called the youth guarantee. He will be guaranteed to have unemployment or a training program. So that requires public money to give the companies in order to hire these young so they can learn, begin to work, and also it needs money to create all these courses to train them if they don't know anything to do. We propose to create this in Europe. There are all these Spanish dogs in the morning.
That's life.
In the morning. We created this thing in Europe because it was proposed by the Social Democrats, I mean, for all of us in the European Parliament, but it has only been passed with a budget of 6,000 million euros. And we want to do it with 3 times more, with 20,000 million euros. And that's perfectly possible because that money is already identified in the European budget. You only need to take from other places and put it there. And with that amount, we can guarantee all the young in 1 year time that they will get either employment or a training opportunity. I mean, those kind of things that we need. And of course, more growth. And to grow more, we need more leftist and progressive economic policy. Not this illness of austerity that nobody backs, that nobody explains theoretically, that has no theoretical support of anyone, and that everyone, even the IMF, is saying that it's very bad for growth, for employment, and it's not the way. And we have, how can we do it? Like Obama. I mean, we're not saying do it like North Korea, no? Do it like Obama. I mean, it's perfectly possible.
But is there like, especially when it comes to youth, like a fundamental change? I mean, how can it be that in Germany only 5 or 6% of the youth is unemployed? Is there maybe like a different system? Like we have a dual system. Like you can go to university, but you can also like not go to university and have like some kind of you work and also get an education. Do you have that here?
We have it, but we need to improve it, and we need to make it closer to what you have. Also in Spain, one thing which is interesting is we have very important differences between the regions.
Oh.
So in the regions,
like in equality level, or
in unemployment, and
Oh.
education. This is something interesting. For example, in Baleares, in Mallorca, which is very well known in Germany.
Sure.
Germany, Mallorca. Mallorca is the region, is the only region where the rule of the higher the per capita income, the more educated are the people, is the only region where that rule doesn't work. Why? Because in Mallorca, there was such a fatal attraction for the young because of the construction bubble. Imagine you being 16 years old in high school in Mallorca. Nice weather and the sun. And then you have all the worst students who drop high school or stop at 16, now it's 18, they stop, and they go to work in construction because they're building all these beautiful apartments for Germans. And in 2 months, they're making, because it was like this, I mean, they get the first salary being 18 years old, they get already 2,000 euros a month, so they buy a motorcycle and they live in Mallorca. So they have the worst study record in the last 10 years has been in Mallorca, because they had this industry which was fed by speculation that was taking people out of schools and out of university, because I mean you could make so much money in construction and in tourism.
Was now, lucrative.
Yeah. Now all those people don't have a job. They didn't get any studies, and we need to do something with them in order to re-educate them. Then we have all the north of Spain, like my region, which is very industrial, where the figures are much lower. But the more concentrated the regions were on construction and on services and tourism, the higher is the unemployment of young. So we have sometimes 3 times more unemployment, for example, in Murcia or Andalucía than in the Basque Country, Navarra or Aragon. So it's different. The system has to be improved, and we need to invest much more in other industries, not only in tourism or in construction, of course.
And in the end, is there anything that's going well in Spain? Can the European Union, can Germany learn anything from Spain? What is going pretty well here?
Well, I think no matter how bad the crisis is and how huge the figures are in unemployment, I think we are taking it quite well. I mean, this country is not going through a social crisis in the streets. We are not seeing.
Well, I heard about the 50M movement and Podemos and all that.
But still, everything is. I mean, for a country that has 25% of people unemployed, more people unemployed now than when the right won the elections, and they will be even more in 2 years' time. That's what the government is saying, and the European Commission is saying, and everybody is saying. Still, that I think we're proving Europe that we're very civilized, very social. I mean, with a very strong cohesion country, that all the social infrastructure in health, in education, in pensions that we built in these last 30 years of democracy after Franco died, basically with socialist governments, is working quite well, and it was worth doing it, and that we can do very well in the future. So I'm optimistic about the future, but of course we need a change in economic policy in Europe, and we need a bit more solidarity from the north.
And you mentioned Franco and the old system. I learned yesterday that there's still a king. Why do you still have a monarchy?
Well, we decided to be a democratic, monarchy, parliamentary monarchy, like the UK, like United Kingdom, or like the Netherlands, like Denmark.
But we got rid of it 100 years ago. When are you going to get rid of it?
Well, it's not in our plans, basically, because we discussed a lot with the right, with the conservatives, to draft the constitution in 1977. It was passed in 1978. It was a very strong. It was passed with a very strong consensus, and that is part of the democratic consensus. The important thing is that we are a democracy, the left coming government, we are fully European integrated, we are like Europe. We always want to be a normal European country. I mean, with Franco,
Right.
with Franco was alive, we were like, I mean, a strange country, a dictatorship with borders. I mean, I only live 60 kilometers from France. You could not go across the border or anything. I think that there was the police there looking at you, checking you everywhere. You could not even buy yogurts in France. I mean, and now things have changed very much, and that I think people are happy with that. It's true that the monarchy has had scandals also. It's also part of our crisis now.
So why not get rid of it? I mean, in Germany we have a president, and he can't do anything he wants. But I learned here the king could do basically anything he wants, and he wouldn't get prosecuted. Is that a democracy? I think shouldn't everybody be equal?
We are discussing about changing the way we call it the royal house, or the king's house works. They have to work as any other government, work, and they have to be transparent, and they have to give explanations for what the money they get, and they have to be also to learn from the mistakes they did and behave more as normal citizens and not like as Hollywood stars.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.